In Matthew chapter 23, Jesus says to the crowds to obey what their teachers tell them, but not to behave the way they do, because they don't practice what they preach. They pile loads upon people and don't lift a finger to help them. Everything they do is to show off. He says they make their phylacteries wide and the tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and to be called rabbi by others. And he tells the crowd not to accept titles of honor, because there is only one Messiah, and those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. In Jewish culture, long tassels and wide phylacteries were physical representations of the keeping of the law of Moses. Moses had commanded that people wear tassels on their clothes, so extra long tassels were a way people tried to show just how devoted they were to the law. A phylactery is a box strapped to one's body that contains tiny scrolls of scripture in it. Moses had figuratively told the people to wear the law of God upon their bodies, but the people took this literally and actually walked around with scrolls tied to their bodies as a way of showing off how much the law meant to them. Jesus then pronounces 7 woes on the teachers of the law and the Pharisees. The 7 woes of hypocrisy are: 1. They taught about God, but did not love God. They did not enter the kingdom of heaven themselves, nor did they let others enter. 2. They preached God, but converted people to dead religion, thus making these converts twice as much sons of hell as they themselves were. 3. They taught that an oath sworn by the temple or altar was not binding, but that if sworn by the gold ornamentation of the temple or by a sacrificial gift on the altar, it was binding. The golden gifts, however, were not sacred in themselves as the temple and altar were, but derived a measure of lesser sacredness by being connected to the temple or altar. The teachers and Pharisees worshipped at the temple and offered sacrifices at the altar because they knew that the temple and altar were sacred. How then could they deny oath-binding value to what was truly sacred and accord it to objects of trivial and derived sacredness? 4. They taught the law but did not practice some of the most important parts of the law: justice, mercy, faithfulness to God. They obeyed the minutiae of the law, such as tithing spices, but not the weightier matters of the law, such as loving neighbor. They presented an appearance of being clean, self-restrained, not involved in carnal matters, yet they were dirty inside. They seethed with hidden worldly desires, carnality. They were full of greed and self-indulgence. 6. They exhibited themselves as righteous on account of being scrupulous keepers of the law, but were in fact not righteous. Their mask of righteousness hid a secret inner world of ungodly thoughts and feelings. They were full of wickedness. They were like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but full of dead men's bones. And 7. They professed a high regard for the dead prophets of old and claimed that they would never have persecuted and murdered the prophets, when in fact they were cut from the same cloth as the persecutors and murderers. They too had murderous blood in their veins. And the monuments that they built for the martyred prophets really only showed that they approved of their deaths.